I sat across from Jessica and her father Thomas in their expansive dining room, the chandelier light reflecting off their matching smug expressions. The tension in the air could have been cut with the silver butter knife Thomas was twirling between his fingers. "Listen, Porter," he said, swirling his expensive whiskey. "Let us be honest here. You are a nobody, too broke to ever own a house." Jessica laughed alongside him, her voice mixing with his in a symphony of mockery. I just nodded, pushed my chair back, and walked away with dignity intact. Today I own 3 houses, while she is stuck in a cramped apartment and her father lost everything. Now, they both call and text me 100 times a day. Before I tell you how I went from being laughed at to owning 3 properties while they lost everything, let me know where you are watching from and hit that like button if you have ever been underestimated. Growing up in a middle-class neighborhood on the south side of Chicago shaped my outlook on life. My parents worked hard to provide a comfortable life for me and my younger sister, but their marriage fell apart when I was 16. The divorce left our family financially strained, with my mom working 2 jobs to keep us afloat. I watched her struggle, and it taught me the value of resilience and hard work. By the time I reached college age, I knew financial aid alone would not cover my education. While attending the state university, I juggled 3 part-time jobs: morning shifts at the campus bookstore, evening work at a local restaurant, and weekend gigs doing landscaping. Sleep became a luxury I could rarely afford, but I was determined to earn my business degree without crushing debt. It was during my junior year, while working at the Daily Grind, a coffee shop near campus, that I first met Jessica. She ordered a complicated latte with precise specifications, but instead of the impatience I expected, she smiled warmly when I got it right. She was stunning in an effortless way, with honey blonde hair and intelligent green eyes that seemed to see right through me. "You are the first barista who has not butchered my order," she said, leaving a generous tip. "I will have to come back tomorrow." And she did. Every day for a week, she came at the same time, ordered the same drink, and stayed a little longer to chat. Despite her designer clothes and the luxury car she drove, Jessica seemed down to earth. She was studying marketing and had dreams of working in fashion publicity. Our first date was simple: a walk through the campus botanical gardens, followed by dollar tacos at my favorite hole in the wall. I worried the place would be too humble for her tastes, but she seemed charmed by its authenticity. When she talked about growing up in the wealthy suburb of Lake Forest with a father who ran a successful investment firm, she did so without arrogance. "Money makes life easier," she admitted, "but it does not necessarily make it better." I believed her. I believed we connected despite our different backgrounds. When she kissed me that night under the streetlight outside her expensive off-campus apartment, I felt like maybe class differences did not matter in the face of genuine connection. After graduation, I landed an entry-level position at Midwest Commercial Properties, a small real estate firm. The salary was modest, but I saw potential for growth. Jessica had secured a marketing job at a prestigious firm through her father's connections, making nearly twice my salary straight out of college. She never explicitly complained about my income, but small comments began to surface. "Maybe next year you will get that promotion," she would say, when I could not afford the expensive restaurants she preferred. "Dad says real estate is all about connections. Have you tried networking more?" Despite these moments, I was in love. After a year together, I started saving for an engagement ring, setting aside a small amount from each paycheck. It would take time, but Jessica was worth it. Or so I thought. The invitation to dinner at her parents' house came after 18 months of dating. I knew this was a significant milestone and spent hours preparing, getting a haircut, pressing my best shirt, practicing conversation topics that might impress her father. I even researched his company so I could ask intelligent questions about his work. "Just be yourself," Jessica said, squeezing my hand, as we pulled into the circular driveway of a mansion that made my childhood home look like a shed in comparison. "They will love you because I love you." Those reassuring words gave me hope that perhaps this dinner would be the beginning of acceptance into her family, a step toward our future together. I had no idea it would instead reveal the truth about our relationship and set me on an entirely different path. The moment I stepped into Thomas Harrington's 7,000 square foot mansion in Lake Forest, I felt out of place. The marble entryway alone was larger than my entire apartment, with a crystal chandelier that probably cost more than my annual salary. Jessica's mother, Catherine, greeted me with a perfunctory hug that barely made contact, her eyes evaluating my off-the-rack suit. "So this is the young man we have heard so little about," she said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Thomas emerged from what I later learned was one of 3 living rooms, tumbler of scotch in hand. He was tall, imposing in an expensive tailored suit, despite this being a family dinner at home. His handshake was intentionally crushing. "Porter. Finally, we meet the boyfriend. Jessica tells us you work in property management, was it?" His tone suggested he was discussing a particularly unimpressive hobby rather than my career. "Commercial real estate, actually," I corrected politely. "I am an associate at Midwest Commercial Properties." "Ah, small outfit. Quaint." He guided us to a dining room that could have hosted 30 people comfortably. What struck me immediately was how Jessica transformed in their presence. The woman who laughed easily with me, who once helped me build a blanket fort in my apartment during a power outage, suddenly spoke with careful precision, laughing at her father's subtle jabs at my profession. It was like watching an actress step into a role. Throughout the appetizer course, Thomas interrogated me about my background, my education, my 5-year plan. Each answer seemed to disappoint him more than the last. Catherine occasionally tried to steer the conversation toward safer topics, but Thomas would invariably circle back. "State University. Interesting choice." We always emphasized prestigious education for Jessica. It opens the right doors, you know. By the time the main course arrived, an elaborate beef Wellington, I was too anxious to enjoy. Thomas had moved on to discussing recent real estate acquisitions his investment firm had made. We just closed on a lovely vacation property in Aspen. Our 4th home, actually. Real estate is the only sensible investment for serious wealth building. Wouldn't you agree, Porter? He knew very well I could not afford to enter the property market myself. "I hope to invest in property eventually," I replied. "I am learning a lot in my current position about market valuation and timing." Thomas chuckled, swirling his wine glass. "Eventually." "Yes, well, the market waits for no one. By your age, I had already purchased 3 investment properties. Different backgrounds, I suppose." Jessica giggled at this, sharing a knowing look with her father that cut me to the core. The conversation grew increasingly uncomfortable as Thomas detailed the minimum net worth he believed necessary for financial security. Anyone worth their salt should have at least $1 million in liquid assets by 30 and a primary residence fully paid off. When I mentioned my student loans and my plans to eliminate debt before major investments, the fatal moment arrived. Thomas set down his fork with deliberate slowness. "Jessica tells me you have been discussing marriage." The statement blindsided me. I had never explicitly discussed marriage with Jessica, only vaguely mentioned a future together. "I believe in building a solid foundation first," I said carefully. Thomas laughed, a sharp barking sound devoid of humor. "Listen, Porter. Let us be honest here, you are a nobody. Too broke to ever own a house, let alone provide the lifestyle my daughter deserves. Marriage, please." The silence that followed was broken by Jessica's laughter joining her father's. Not a polite, uncomfortable chuckle, but genuine amusement at my expense. In that moment, I saw our entire relationship clearly for the first time. I simply nodded, stood up, and walked out. No dramatic words, no scene. Just the quiet dignity of removing myself from a situation where I was neither respected nor valued. Jessica caught up to me in the driveway. "Porter, do not be so sensitive. Daddy just wants the best for me. He was testing you. He was humiliating me, and you joined in," I replied quietly. "He is right, though, is not he? We have been together almost 2 years, and you are still in the same position, the same tiny apartment. I thought you would have advanced by now." The drive back to the city was silent and tense. Her half-hearted apology the next day came with qualifiers. If you had stood up to him, he might have respected you more. His methods are harsh, but he built a financial empire from nothing. You could learn from him. Over the following weeks, I discovered through casual comments that Jessica had been sharing every detail of our financial discussions with her father, seeking his approval on my potential as a partner. Each career move, each financial decision I had shared in confidence had been dissected and found wanting by a man who measured worth solely by wealth. "Dad thinks you should be more aggressive in asking for promotions," she would say. Or "Dad says your retirement contributions are too conservative." The relationship deteriorated rapidly. Jessica's criticisms became more frequent, her disappointment more evident. She began comparing me to her friends' boyfriends who worked in finance or tech with higher salaries and faster advancement. I retreated into my work, staying later at the office and taking on additional projects. Partly to advance my career, but mostly to avoid going home to increasingly tense evenings with Jessica. The emotional toll was immense. I began questioning my self-worth, wondering if perhaps Thomas was right. Maybe I was aiming too low, moving too slowly. The weight of never being enough crushed down on me daily. Each morning I woke with a tightness in my chest. Each night I lay awake recalculating my financial trajectory, wondering how many years until I would be worthy in their eyes. The breaking point came on a rainy Tuesday evening in Jessica's apartment. I had just been passed over for a promotion I had been working toward for months. Despite my disappointment, I had already formulated a new plan identifying areas where I needed to improve and setting up a meeting with my supervisor to discuss a path forward. When I shared this with Jessica, expecting support, she sighed heavily. "Porter, I think we need to have a serious talk about our future," she said, setting down her wineglass. "I have been patient, really patient, but I need to know you are going to step up financially. My friends are getting engaged with 2-carat diamonds and buying condos downtown. Meanwhile, we are still talking about your 5-year plan. I thought we were building something meaningful together," I said. "Something that would last regardless of how quickly we acquire things." "Meaningful does not pay for the lifestyle I want," she replied coldly. "I have been embarrassed introducing you as my boyfriend for months now. Dad was right about you." The words struck like physical blows. Years of love and shared experiences reduced to my income potential. While she continued detailing my inadequacies, I noticed her phone light up on the coffee table. A text from her father. "Has the reality check talk happened yet? Remember what we discussed?" I picked up her phone, my hands shaking slightly. "What are you doing?" she demanded. I scrolled through weeks of messages between them. Mockery of my career goals. Jokes about my modest apartment. Strategies for pushing me to earn more or moving on to someone more financially established. Even photos of me she had sent him with mocking captions about my discount store clothes. All this time I whispered, feeling a strange calm descend over me, even as my world collapsed. "I was never a partner to you. I was a project, or a punchline." "You are overreacting," Jessica said, snatching her phone back. "Daddy is just looking out for me, and clearly he was right. Look at you. You have no ambition, no drive. When we met, I thought you would change." In that moment of devastating clarity, something unexpected happened. Instead of feeling crushed, I felt liberated. The weight of constantly trying to prove myself worthy to people who would never value me for who I was suddenly lifted. "I do have ambition," I said quietly. "I just measure success differently than you do, and that is not going to change." I gathered my few belongings from her apartment while she alternated between angry accusations and tearful manipulations. 2 years of my life packed into a small duffel bag. "You will regret this," she called after me. "You will never find someone like me again." "I sincerely hope not," I replied, closing the door behind me for the last time. The weeks that followed were the darkest of my life. I moved through my days in a fog, questioning everything about myself and my goals. Had I been naive to think someone from her background could ever truly accept me? Was I really underachieving or just following a different path? The self-doubt was crippling. Rock bottom came on a Sunday morning when I could barely find the energy to get out of bed. My phone showed 3 missed calls from my mother, who worried when I missed our weekly check-in. That small reminder of unconditional love, someone who valued me regardless of my bank balance, became my turning point. The next day at work, I approached Marcus Johnson, a senior broker who had been with the firm for 20 years. He had started in an entry-level position like mine and worked his way up methodically. "I want to excel in this field," I told him directly. not to impress anyone else, but because I know I can contribute value. Would you be willing to mentor me, Marcus, a straightforward man in his 50s who had seen countless young brokers come and go, studied me thoughtfully? You have good instincts, Porter, better than most. But you have been holding back, playing it safe. Real success in this business requires calculated risk and absolute conviction in your own judgment. Under Marcus's guidance, I developed a strategic 5-year plan for my career. Not the vague aspirations I had before, but concrete steps with measurable outcomes. I enrolled in additional certification programs, built my professional network, and immersed myself in learning investment strategies from successful brokers. My first breakthrough came 8 months later when I identified an overlooked commercial property with tremendous potential. I researched exhaustively, prepared a comprehensive proposal, and presented it to a key client. The resulting deal earned the firm a substantial commission and earned me my first promotion. While my professional life advanced, I maintained a Spartan personal life. I moved to a smaller apartment to cut expenses further. I tracked every dollar investing rather than spending. Evenings and weekends were dedicated to self-education about property investment market trends and renovation costs. 18 months after the breakup, I purchased my first property, a distressed duplex in an up-and-coming neighborhood. The building needed substantial work, but I had spent months learning basic renovation skills. Weekends became a blur of sanding floors, replacing fixtures, and painting walls. The learning curve was steep and sometimes painful. I made mistakes that cost money and time. There were nights I collapsed into bed physically exhausted and questioning my decisions. But with each completed project, my confidence grew along with my property's value. I leveraged the equity from the first property to acquire a second, then a third, carefully timing each purchase to maximize potential. I built a small but effective property management business on the side, applying the organizational skills I had honed at my day job. My professional reputation grew alongside my portfolio. The quiet, methodical associate became known for insightful market analysis and successful investment strategies. The promotion I had once desperately wanted came followed by another. Not because I was chasing titles to impress anyone, but because I had found purpose in creating value where others saw none. 7 years passed since that fateful dinner. I now owned 3 properties outright: the original duplex, now fully renovated and generating steady income, a small 4-unit apartment building in a revitalized neighborhood, and a single-family home where I lived. My position at the firm had advanced to senior broker with my own team specializing in commercial redevelopment projects. Through mutual friends, I occasionally heard updates about Jessica. After our breakup, she had cycled through relationships with increasingly wealthy men, but none had led to the marriage and lifestyle she sought. Her marketing career had stalled as she prioritized finding a wealthy husband over professional growth. More surprising was the news about Thomas. His investment firm had collapsed during an economic downturn, largely due to overextended credit and risky leveraging, the very practices he had once boasted about. The family mansion had been sold to cover debts, their vacation properties liquidated. I felt no satisfaction in their downfall. Life has a way of teaching its own lessons without need for personal vengeance. I had long since moved past bitterness to a place of genuine gratitude for the painful awakening that dinner had provided. The first contact came via LinkedIn, a congratulatory message from Jessica on a community redevelopment project our firm had completed. It seemed innocent enough, but was quickly followed by more personal messages reminiscing about good times we had shared. When I did not respond, the messages migrated to other platforms. Texts, emails, voicemails, each more desperate than the last. She had lost her job, was struggling to make rent on a cramped apartment. Perhaps I could help her find an affordable place, or knew of job openings, or would consider investing in a business idea she had. Thomas's messages began around the same time. He had a new investment opportunity that just needed seed capital. He had always seen potential in me, he claimed, had merely been testing my resolve that night. Perhaps we could meet for lunch to discuss mutual opportunities. The volume became absurd, sometimes 10 messages a day from each of them. calls from unknown numbers that turned out to be them, even handwritten letters. At their peak, I counted over 100 contact attempts in a single week. I responded once politely but firmly. I wish you both well, but I am not interested in reconnecting or engaging in business ventures together. Please respect this boundary. They did not, of course. The messages continued fluctuating between flattery, nostalgia, and thinly veiled resentment that I would not help them after their one mistake years ago. The irony was not lost on me, but I found no pleasure in it. Instead, I reflected on the journey that had brought me here. Not just the financial success, but the personal growth. 2 years after my breakup with Jessica, I met Alicia at a community service project where my firm was volunteering. She was coordinating the event, efficiently directing corporate volunteers while maintaining genuine warmth with the families being served. Our relationship developed slowly, built on mutual respect and shared values rather than superficial markers of success. Alicia, a nonprofit director with a passion for education equity, never once asked about my income or assets. She was more impressed by my volunteer work teaching financial literacy at the community center than by my property portfolio. When I finally shared the full story of Jessica and Thomas, Alicia shook her head in disbelief. Their loss, she said simply. They missed knowing a good man because they were too focused on your bank account. With Alicia, I found what had been missing with Jessica, a partnership of equals who valued character over credentials. When I proposed after 3 years together, the ring was not the largest diamond I could afford, but one that reflected thoughtfulness and meaning. She cried when I explained how the vintage setting reminded me of her grandmother's stories she loved to share. My definition of success had transformed completely. While I took pride in my professional accomplishments and financial security, I measured my life's value differently now. Integrity in business dealings, mentoring young associates from backgrounds similar to mine, building a relationship based on mutual growth and support. These became my metrics for a life well lived. I established a small scholarship fund at my former university for students working their way through college. The thank you letters from recipients meant more to me than any luxury purchase ever could. The peace I found came not from surpassing Jessica and Thomas materially, but from living authentically without need for their validation. The greatest lesson from that painful dinner was understanding that self-worth cannot be determined by others' measurements. Sometimes rejection is the greatest gift we can receive. It removes from our lives those who cannot see our true value, making room for those who can. The path to success is rarely straight, and often the detours teach us the most valuable lessons. Looking back now, would I change anything? That dinner, that relationship, that humiliation? Not for a moment. Every step led me here, to a life of meaning, purpose, and genuine connection. So I ask you, how do you measure success in your own life? Is it by what you own, or by who you are, by others' approval, or by your own integrity? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if this story resonated with you, hit the like button and subscribe for more real-life experiences. Thank you for listening, and remember, the opinions that matter most about your life should be your own. Your worth was never determined by someone else's measuring stick.